Good afternoon, good morning, good evening maybe for everyone, depending on where you are in the world.
Hello, Rutger.
Hello, oh, there is on the way now.
Hi, Nick.
Welcome all of you. We will wait one more minute and then we will start with the webinar. We wait for a few people to join and then we will start the webinar.
Okay.
Just to let you know, we did do this morning
Hello.
and it worked okay, so should be good. We'll get started in a minute.
Well, we hope you do a better job now in the afternoon. We didn't attend the morning one.
Well, there is that. I mean, it's it all went without a hitch this morning, so we can hope.
My performance was really poor, but Nick's was great. Was really the best.
I met with one of your colleagues recently, Nick, and he said you were going to do fantastic. So
yeah.
Who said that?
I met with one of your colleagues last week, and he said that you were going to do absolutely fantastic. What's that?
Is it David?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, given that I got David his job and I'm his manager, if he'd said anything else, I would have been quite disappointed. But no, that's
fair on.
Thank you, Hannah.
Okay, let's start with this webinar. So just a second, I'm going to share my screen. My screen, everyone sees my screen? Nick, you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, welcome to all of you. Great to have you here in this webinar. The webinar is being recorded, and we also will share the slides. So it's not necessary to make pictures of the screen, but it's good to have you here. Within this hour, what we're going to do is I will start with a short update on the Euribron network, give you some details in what we're working on right now. Of course, the main part is Nick's presentation about the geopolitical landscape. Well, can't it even be more actual? And then for those who are interested, I will give a short demonstration of the members area and the forum tool that we have in the members area. And that last part is the part where if you're interested, you can stay, and otherwise you log out. But that's the last part. Let's start with a short update on our network. As of the 1st of January, we have 3 cancellations of members, and it's good to inform you about it because you may have business with some of them. Coverforce Australia is the first one. We have the good news that we have found a new member in Australia called GoGates Group. We will introduce them soon in our newsletter, and they will also participate in the annual conference in Naples later this year. So that's a good time to get connected. Second is PT Talisman in Indonesia, who left the network. We are still looking. We just started looking for a new partner in Indonesia, and we hope to find one in the next months. Then we also got a cancellation from James Hellum in the United Kingdom. As you know, we have 2 brokers already, 2 other brokers in the UK called W. Dennis and Clear Insurance Management. With these 2, we are very happy. We have a good coverage. So at this moment, we are not looking for a new partner in the UK. We think with these 2, we have a good coverage. Then some new partners who joined the network 1st of January or already in end of 25. I told you about Gowgates Group in Australia. In Malaysia, we have connected Wells Risk Assured. I just sent a newsletter this morning with a short introduction of this company as well. For India, we have connected a second broker called Piraj Insurance Brokers. They will also attend the conference in Naples. Kenya, JW Segan. We see that the African continent is becoming more and more interested for international insurance, with main investments from, amongst other, China, Japan, Korea, and other countries. So we're happy with them in JW Segan. I see Miriam also from Morocco. You are a member, but you are a new activated member. So good to have you here as well. And finally, Thomas Smith Insurance Brokers in Malta, our new broker for Malta. Then I would like to emphasize a few activities or conferences that we're working on. In March, we have the expert meeting in Barcelona. We still have some places left since it's it's only two days, 1.5 day. It's mainly focused on the experts, international experts for Europe and maybe Northern Africa. That's because of the traveling. Of course, everyone is welcome, but we expect to have most people from Europe. Registration is open until 1st of February. If you have not yet registered, then please do so, because it's a very interesting program, and we will also talk further about the subjects and the topics that Nick is going to talk about later this and in this webinar. Then the 8th until the 10th of June, we have our conference in Naples. Registration just opened. It's the forms are on the website and in the newsletter sent today. So we hope to receive a lot of registrations from our members worldwide. Please register before the 15th of March, because we have secured 60 rooms, and after that date we have to release some if they are not used yet. Then we have also looked at an option to organize an online international expert training. We wanted to combine it. We looked at combining it with the expert meeting in Barcelona, but we think it will be too complicated. So we are developing an international expert training online, which will take 1.5 hours, 2 hours, maybe maximum, for our international experts who work with international clients on a daily basis, and to connect them and also to give them some training on international programs. Then a few other things, and this is my last slide. Important for you, we have some membership services that are sometimes free for you as a member, and one of them is the AXCO country reports. We have licenses where we can download 216 country reports a year, and our members have free access to these reports. Many of these reports are already published on our website in the members area. I'm going to explain at the end with the demonstration where you can find them. So you can look on the members area to see if the specific report is there that you need. Or you can send an email to axco@euribron.com when we will download this specific report and send it to you within 2 days. My suggestion is to download one of these reports in the members area, go through them. They give a good overview and in good details as well about the general market, the demographics, about the insurance market, non-admitted, insurance premium tax. So it's a real good information source that you can use in your advice to your clients. New is the IPT tool, which is insurance premium tax tool, where you can check insurance premium rates worldwide and make tax calculations automatically for global programs. We think this is useful for the larger members who have who handle international, larger international global accounts. It will really make it easier for you to do the calculations and to check calculations because this is an important thing in the compliancy that you're sure to pay the right taxes to the authorities. If you are interested, you can contact directly the TMF group. And as you can see here, all our members get 50% discount on the license fees. Then finally, we are working on our statutes. Our statutes are from maybe 15, 20 years old. So we are updating them, and we are at the same time introducing a new list of membership rules. This list of membership rules is actually the contract, the agreement that our members signed when they joined the network. But with the new list of membership rules, this is more flexible. We can change things if it's necessary, and also it's a good overview how our members work together, what you can expect from the network, from Euribron and from the network partners, and what the partners can expect from you. These statutes and membership rules should be approved by the members at the AGM, the annual general meeting in June 2026 at the Naples conference. So this is good to inform you that we are working on that and we will inform you more in the next months. Are there any questions about this part so far? Let's see. I don't see any questions, any hands raised. Then Nick, I think it's time for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Rutger. Well, as Rutger said, welcome everybody. The first thing I would say is that if you can get to Naples in the summer, please do, because I have seen the agenda and the program that we've all put together, and I have to say it is really, really good. I appreciate that some people can't make it, etc. But please, if you do get the chance, do come along, because I think you will greatly enjoy it. So without further ado, I am going to talk to you to something that could not be more topical, and that is geopolitical risk. So without further ado, I am attempting to share my slide show. Rutger, can you just tell me that you can see that, please?
Yes, I do. Yes, I can see it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Yes.
Thank you
Yes.
very much indeed. So the first thing I'm going to say is that apologies. I am English, which is always an apology in itself, but I do have a tendency sometimes to speak a little bit quickly, so I will try and slow down where I can. What's so fascinating about this is I actually wrote this presentation about 2.5 months ago, and I've had to update it twice since because of the events that are going on in the world around us even as we speak. So I don't think you could get much more topical than this whole subject. And what I'm going to do today is to talk about what geopolitical risk is and why it is so important to the future success of our clients and in turn our businesses. Because everywhere you turn at the moment, geopolitical risk is there. It is everywhere. And it doesn't matter which part of the globe that you currently sit in on this call, or your clients operate in, or your businesses are based in. This is probably going to be one of the major areas of differentiation in the future in terms of us being able to assist our clients to manage their business well. So the format of today is that I'm going to take you through this presentation. I can't actually see you while I'm presenting, but if you do have any questions, could you pop them please in the chat room? And then at the end, Rutger will read them out and we can field them before the end of the session. So I'm going to start with a little bit of positioning to try and get us all to stop thinking like insurance brokers and perhaps a little bit more like ordinary businessmen, clients, if you like. So the first thing I'm going to say to you also is that I'm going to present this material in a non-political way as far as I can, okay? I don't offer political opinion in this presentation about some of the things which are going on. I'm trying to merely take the facts as I see them and what I can glean from the information I have access to and offer you a view of what's going on and how this affects our clients and our businesses. And there are some controversial subjects going on in the world at the moment, as you well know. So I try and address this all in as a non-political way as I possibly can. So the first thing we're going to start with is this little introduction, which fields the concept, in my opinion, that global events and conditions are currently changing at a faster rate than they ever have since 1945. Now, I accept that depending on exactly where you are in the world, things may not be very much changed from how they've been 15, 20 years ago. But if we take the global position as a whole, there is an awful lot that's going on. And this isn't just a discussion about politics and international conflict and trade disputes. This is a discussion about what that does to our clients' businesses and their fortunes and how we can help them navigate through it, because we do have a role to play without any doubt. Global prosperity, looking at it across the world, is anchored by trade. There is a relationship, whether we agree with it or we disagree with it. There is a direct relationship between prosperity and trade. And for various reasons, I think there are a lot of factors which are going to create a very different future for us. And also, I think the rate of change is accelerating very quickly. And things kind of happen out of nowhere at the moment. I don't know about you, but I read the news every morning. And when I turn on the news or I put it on my phone, I actually am beginning to say, I wonder what's happened overnight. I wonder what the next thing is. Because every time I look at the news at the moment, something else has happened. And whether it's the absolute tragedy that obviously happened in Switzerland over New Year, or indeed the very sad rail incident in Spain recently, or it is the US applying 10%, later 25% tariffs to certain European countries. There is always something that seems to be happening at the moment. So I'm going to try and make sense of all of that stuff in the next half an hour or so. So the future is going to be different. I think we probably accept that, but I think it's also going to be rather more volatile and less predictable. And business doesn't like volatility. Our clients don't like things that are unpredictable. So how do we navigate these four main issues at the bottom: economic pressure, social pressure, the issue of security. We're going to talk a lot about cyber and political changes and new agendas. Well, the first thing that I'd ask you to do is, as I say, stop thinking like an insurance broker for a minute. And I have drawn this slide largely from AI, straight out of Google. There's nothing unusual here. And I'd ask you to think about this positioning statement. The way we see the world, our perception of the world, is an active interpretation of information. We form an opinion of the world based upon our knowledge, our experience, our memories, and we hardly ever experience the world directly. With respect, the vast majority of us may never be involved in a serious conflict or a massive riot or these world-shaping events that are taking place around us. But we can draw experience and understanding from them. And what I think is going to happen in the future is that how we experience the world and how we look at the world is going to change quite quickly. So I've offered on this slide 6, let's call them issues, which I think everyone on this call would recognize as being current global events. Now, I actually changed this slide 2 days ago. And just quickly to cover what they are, and some of them are self-explanatory, hopefully some are not. First of all, on the top left, what we have here is a lady called Le Pen, who, as many of you will know, is a French politician. Now, her party represents what might be considered a slightly more, I won't use the word extreme, but a slightly, well, a right of centre party in France. Now, this is not particular to France. What this is saying is a disruption in Europe at the moment is that increasingly the electorate, the population are looking at their leaders in Europe and they're saying, you are not dealing with the issues in the way that we want you to. It's happening in the UK, it's happening in France, it's happening in Germany, it's happening in other places. And what's happening is politics is becoming a little bit more extreme. The right and left of centre parties are gaining much more ground. There is political instability. The top middle is the slide, the picture that I changed relatively recently, and we will talk about Greenland. And again, I'm not going to talk about whether I agree, disagree with what's going on in relation to US policy or US intentions, but I actually wrote a section of this presentation about the Antarctic before the Greenland incident has arisen. I'll talk about that in a minute. Top right, sadly, regrettably, whatever your view is, has been with us for some time now, which is the Russian-Ukrainian conflict. And in the middle at the bottom, and apologies, I put Taiwan here because it was quite relevant directly in the news at that time. And have you noticed, incidentally, how things come and go in the news very quickly? In the UK here, Russia and Ukraine hasn't been in the headlines for several weeks, even though that conflict rages on. China are a massive global player. What is their position? What is their intentions? Are China always to be viewed as an enemy of the majority of the globe or not? I'm actually going to argue not today, and I'll explain why. And the bottom left and the bottom right are what we might call social issues, but they're also economic as well. So bottom right, we have the issue of the migration of people, the movement of people in and out of countries. This is causing political pressures, particularly here in Europe, but obviously elsewhere as well. And bottom left, we have poverty. We have the perception that lower standards of living are currently a product of the global downturn. How much of an issue is that? What does it actually mean? So these are all things which I would argue are shaping our thoughts at the moment. But ignore what I think. I've just picked 6 events. I could have picked 6 others, but I picked those 6. This slide is Standard & Poor's. And for those that don't know, and I'm sure you all do, Standard & Poor's are a recognized financial grading company, particularly in relation to the insurance industry, and they are regarded as a benchmark of financial measurement, performance and security. And the words that you see on this slide are theirs. I have not altered them in any way. But this is 2025. So you think about what's happened since last summer. But Standard & Poor's are saying the summary position at the moment is that a world that was ordered for decades by globalization and geoeconomics has quickly become a world grounded in geopolitical risk. So there is not only change, there is quick change. And in the history of the 20th century in particular, the way that things have changed in the last 25 years is quite staggering. US policy, it is compete responsibly with rival superpowers. That's an interesting point. I'm not offering an opinion, but that was a view given last summer, that they were competing responsibly with rival superpowers. I think some might challenge that view now. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but they may challenge it. Energy and climate are still very much on the agenda. And we're going to look at the impact on your clients and my clients later. But it's very interesting that things like COVID-19 and also the geopolitical conflicts of the last few years, they have exposed massively the weakness of global supply and global trade. And that is where we're going to link in a little bit later to our own clients and what they're doing. So on the right-hand side, you see a diagram, and all it shows is a graph in 4 sections, basically, of the highest risks that Standard & Poor's perceive, but they perceived these 8 months ago now. So in the top right-hand corner, you see the highest probability of occurrence and the highest potential impact. And back in the summer last year, cyber attacks, the relationships between the US and China, and climate risk were regarded as the top 3. And it's interesting that if you drew that again now, I think you would probably draw it slightly differently. And you notice bottom right, you've got Russia-NATO relations being high impact, but relatively unlikely. What about US-Europe relations? Would that be on there now? So you can see how these things are changing very, very quickly. So why is geopolitical risk important? Well, it's very important because if you leave the politics out of it, it has the ability to affect the way that the global economy works. It can influence growth, inflation, financial markets, supply chains. And we'll look at this in terms of a few numbers and a little bit more detail in a minute. We then get what I would call spots or localized events that have major impact. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Suez Canal later, but some of the conflicts that we've had in the Middle East, Russia, Ukraine, we get local instabilities, we get security issues for supplies, we get higher prices, we get inflation suddenly spiking. And the whole relationship between US and China, but also, again, stripping the politics away from it, we just look at the issue of tariff application. That potentially has a major impact as well. So at the bottom, a company called BlackRock, and they basically just look at grading global risks. This was produced by them a few months ago, dividing between high probability global political risk and medium probability in terms of occurrence. So on the left, you see the things which the people canvassed by BlackRock, who are business leaders, our clients, were most worried about: global trade protectionism, the Middle Eastern conflict. Now that's moved on a little bit since last summer. Is it at its end? History tells us it probably isn't. US-China, cyber, terrorism. But what's interesting is medium probability on the right. Number 4 is European fragmentation. where there are an awful lot of questions at the moment about the role of Europe in the future of global life, both politically and economically. And I'll come back to that in a minute. But if we strip all the politics out for a minute, let's just look at some facts. And this is where we move a little bit more towards where our clients are going to be thinking. This graph shows you the volume of containers, shipping containers that have been booked, i.e. are being used across the globe between 2007 and 2024. So this goes way back past COVID. And it's interesting that you can see what an effect global downturn has had on world trade. In 2024, we only reached the volume of trade that was taking place back in 2011. That's a heck of a decline. Now, yes, we have COVID in there, but the bounce back has not been particularly significant. And what are the risks? Well, we see problems. We've seen it in the Red Sea. We've seen problems in the Black Sea. But here is a really interesting statistic, which blew my mind, to be honest. And by the way, if you have access to YouTube, please do look out for a documentary on there about the incident involving the Suez Canal. You will remember that a boat got, well, not a boat, a ship, got stuck in the canal. It hit one side of the Suez Canal wall and then rebounded off, and it blocked the canal for ages. 400 million worth of US dollars were delayed each hour when the Suez Canal was blocked. That is huge. And that shows the fragility of global trade and supply chains. There it is for all to see. And that's really what led me to write this slide a couple of months ago. Now, this has become so relevant, I couldn't have made it up. And I promise you I didn't make it up yesterday. The Antarctic. I didn't know this, I found this out. 9th of October last year, US and Finland signed a memorandum of understanding to develop 11 icebreakers. Why did they do that? The reason they did that is because the Antarctic, ignore the military side, ignore the global power struggle, US, Russia, China, ignore that for a minute. Just from a trade perspective, the Antarctic is absolutely vital. And as the world warms up and the ice melts and the Antarctic is able to transport goods for more of the year, the Antarctic is becoming a vital supply route. And what a surprise, the US are in there, China are in there, etc., trying to open up and claim the capability of that route. And why is it so important? Because as we've just seen, if the Suez Canal is blocked, your other alternative is to move all your goods around the Cape of Good Hope and South Africa. But there we are at the bottom. By opening this route, the transit time from China to Europe is reduced by around half compared with the Cape of Good Hope. And I wrote that bit before the dispute really reared its head over Greenland. So I'm not going to talk about the politics of Greenland. What I am going to say is the Antarctic is absolutely commercially and economically a strategic tipping point and a very vital part of the global trade jigsaw. So we've got threat to supply chains and how that directly relates to our clients in terms of confidence and business performance. We'll talk about in a minute. Now, as soon as I put up a slide with cyber on it, insurance brokers that we are, we all sit there and go, yes, we talk to our clients about cyber. And I know you do. But the future of this isn't looking very good at all. There is absolutely no doubt that the number of high-profile cyber attacks and the number of people going online globally who therefore are exposed to cyber threat, it is going to exponentially increase over the next years. There is no doubt that this is going to become an even bigger issue than it is today. And I want to give you an example of where we as a community of people, as insurance brokers, are impacted by this. I can't tell you the name of the business because it wouldn't be right, but some of you may guess who it is. In the UK, we have had an incident where a very well-known business has had a very large cyber attack, and it's stopped them producing their goods that they produce in the UK. And this particular business produces cars. And what they are currently doing, or they're looking at, is they are looking at pursuing their insurance broker, not for the fact that he gave them a cyber policy or put a cyber policy in place that didn't have the right cover or had too low a indemnity limit. They are suing the broker because the broker didn't give them any advice about taking cyber insurance. Now, that's an interesting turn of events, because as insurance brokers, nicely, we're used to only being pursued for things when we've done something wrong, a mistake in something we've arranged, cover's not adequate, that kind of thing. The future could be, if you don't actually bring to your client's attention the risks that they are exposed to, you could be sued. Why? Because you're acting as their agent. And if you are acting reasonably, there is a point that you're not acting reasonably if you don't point out the importance of things such as cyber. Now, I know I'm sitting here in the UK. We have a different legal and social approach to litigation, and perhaps a stronger one than many countries in the world. But we're not the strongest. We don't tend to litigate as much as some other countries. But this is a development. We can't ignore what is on that slide. It's coming. And it's right at the top of the agendas of our clients, and certainly big clients at the moment with professional risk managers. They have a responsibility to their shareholders, to their investors, and if they're a listed company, to the market that lists them. And they have a responsibility to manage their business, to identify risk and to reduce it. And things like this that you see on the screen are right at the top of their agenda at the moment. Let's talk about some other things in geopolitical risk and impact. And I mentioned a couple of these at the start on my pictures when I mentioned emigration and I mentioned economic anxiety. And certainly again here in the UK, and I know in lots of countries around the world, the issue about living standards and about the impact of movement of people, whether it be immigration, it's normally immigration, but it can be emigration as well. These are quite important issues. But guess what? The facts don't actually support that they're an issue. The number of migrants in the world today is basically the same as it was 50 years ago. The vast majority of people still live in the country in which they were born. Economic activity. I can't talk about the rest of the world because I just would be out of my depth on that. But the fact is, in Europe, living standards have risen in the last 10 years. So actually, emigration, movement of people, concerns about living standards, they are largely political issues. They are issues that I think politicians use to try and encourage people to vote for them or not vote for somebody else. They don't seem to have the massive impact economically that perhaps we think we do. What is a concern politically and economically is the power of media. I mentioned at the start that this is my own interpretation of what's going on. I may well not be right. I'm not an economist. I'm certainly not an expert on these things, but I get some of my information from the media. The problem is, if the media is being controlled and manipulated, that I am seeing, what am I actually seeing of the truth? Probably not a lot. Now, in the UK, we have this sort of tradition that we're very fair and logical and impartial and all that kind of thing. There is a lot of thought here at the moment that our leading news provider, which in this country is called the BBC, isn't in fact as impartial as it seems to be. So where do you get your information from? But the big thing that we are seeing, and whether you think it's immigration or not, whether you think it's economic pressure on households, whether you think it's the media, to a certain extent, it doesn't matter. What we're definitely seeing, and I think it's borne out by those figures you saw on global trade just now, the shipping volumes, is there's a lot of loss of faith. There's a lot of people and business owners sitting there saying, things are not that great. When you go and see clients for renewal, they say, yeah, I'm doing okay, but it's not brilliant. It's not like it used to be. And obviously, you've got a lot of businesses who are saying we're not doing that well. Yes, there are some who are obviously doing extremely well. They tend to be the innovators. But there is quite a loss of confidence. And it doesn't need me to tell you what effect that confidence has on things like financial markets and trade. I'm going to skip through this slide a little bit because we've covered some of it, but these are some of the things which are also causing some problems that we're seeing. Particularly in Europe, we're seeing an awful lot of discontent at the moment. We're seeing a lot of rallies. We're seeing a lot of criticism of the people who lead us. There's been a lot of government instability in European countries in recent times. And it's very interesting, isn't it, that if you, and again, I make no judgment about the political opinion, if you read a Russian newspaper, and occasionally I just go on the internet and look at TASS, which is the state-owned news agency in Russia, they are applauding the US for their stance on Greenland. And if you go back to what I was saying about Standard & Poor's last summer, US-Russia was a major flashpoint. We now have Russia, their state agency, supporting what Trump's doing. Why are they supporting what Trump's doing? Because Trump is weakening, potentially, the European position, European influence, Europe's role on the world stage. And anything that can do that and weaken NATO, the EU, these structures that have been created, is to Russia's advantage. You can see how quickly this is all moving. This presentation might be out of date by the end of the week. That never used to happen. This is changing very fast. The US, whenever we talk about the US, we always tend to talk about the US in an international dimension. We tend to talk about what's going on the global stage with the United States. But the US is an enormous country and an enormous economy in its own right. And America has a large number of domestic challenges related to political instability, of demonstrations, the homicide rate. There's a lot of instability within America that we don't tend to think about. We don't really tend to see so much. And I haven't highlighted Bangladesh for any specific reason. But the point is that elsewhere, there's an awful lot of instability. And look at Iran. Iran was, I'm not saying a quiet issue last year, but suddenly that's erupted. And who knows how that is going to play out. So there's an awful lot of challenge, a lot of instability, and a lot of concern. So let's go back to our client. Inflation. Whatever your economic views about whether you should have a government in charge of an economy or a pure free economy, everyone would reasonably accept that inflation is a very dangerous thing because it erodes the value of money. Now, I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of that graph, but what it is telling us is that if we go into an increasingly tariff-related future, now tariffs may come from the US, they may be just a threat and they won't come as much as we think they will. We don't know. What we do know is that the economists of this world will tell you that if you have tariffs, you tend to get inflation and you tend to get volatility. Europe, we've got reasonably stable inflation at the moment, but we haven't got any growth, really. I'm going to show you that in a minute. But of course, against all this, is there any other changes that we need to know? And here is a really interesting point that I didn't know until I read it. We all tend to think if we're trading with the US or we're trading with China, that if there's a large tariff imposed, that's the end of our economy, and that's a problem. Not necessarily. Look at Canada. Mark Carney, who's the leader of Canada, who incidentally used to be the governor of the Bank of England here in the UK, when the US put the tariffs on, again, I make no judgment about that, he went to China and he struck a trade deal with China. The trade between Canada and China is already 14% up. That is a significant shift. How does that play out for the future in terms of supply? Who would have put Canada and China together 3 years ago? It's all change. What's concerning at the bottom of all this is whether we have fluctuations, short-term changes, global flashpoints. The underlying picture at the moment is a little bit worrying. This is growth rates of all the major countries. Apologies if yours is not on there, nothing personal, but this is showing us what's happening in the last couple of years. If I'd shown that graph 15, 20 years ago, those figures would have been a lot higher. And you notice until you get to the top, really, there's not a lot to shout about at all. Look at the UK, we're virtually at the bottom. Germany, powerhouse of European growth for much of the 20th century, near the bottom. United States, pretty average. This is not terribly brilliant, and it's showing a global position of concern and of stagnation. So just before we move on to finish and take some questions, I'm just going to trim this, hopefully reasonably succinctly, into how it relates to our clients. So we've talked about weak growth. We've talked about inflation. Is that going to be stable? Is it not? What I can tell you is that the risk environment is going to be more unpredictable in the future, and that there is unrest, and there is going to be a lot more change at a quicker pace, and that all equals fragility. So what does that mean? It means challenge and change is nothing new. Now, we've all lived and grown up with that, so that's nothing new. But what is new is that the future is probably more unpredictable for our clients than it has ever been. And the changes are going to come quicker. So what is going to happen? If a business is not only going to do well, but if it is going to actually survive, I would say, particularly here in the UK, we're seeing this. It's no longer about doing okay. It's now about surviving and prospering. You've got to find new opportunities. You've got to diversify. We are seeing more UK businesses, and particularly at our brokers where I work at Clear, we're seeing more inquiries for international business. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on a Euribron call. We're seeing it because businesses have got to diversify and move into new markets in order to grow and to survive. Technology, AI. I used this example this morning. I hope someone can see me, but if you can, I'm holding up a small credit card size thing. This is called Applaud. I'd never heard of it until the weekend. Plaud. And this little thing records all my meetings, transcribes them into any number of templates and formats that I want on my phone. And if I magnetically attach it to my phone, it records both ends of all my telephone conversations and puts them into notes. This was 150 sterling pounds only. This is change that I'm holding here. And I'm just an insurance broker. I'm not a tech person by any stretch. So change is going to come. So adapting and equipping a business for the future not only ensures it does well, it ensures that it survives. The key takeaway from all of this, we talked about cyber and all the rest of it, is we have to understand where our clients are going. We have to understand how they're changing, what they need of us, and how we can supply it. And here on this screen is something which is very important. We talk a lot about supply chain disruption, and you can see how relevant that is in the context of these trade issues and global disputes that I've been talking about. So you'll see economists mention these three things a lot at the moment: nearshoring, reshoring, and offshoring. And all it means is that people are trying to take out the risk of disruption to the supply of their goods and services by relocating the labour and the method of manufacturing those goods and services to a more reliable environment. Why risk the Suez Canal being blocked if you can manufacture that product somewhere else and you can still sell it to clients? This whole business of supply chain dynamics is massively changing as we speak. The reason I raise it here is because I think one of the areas where we as brokers have got a massive part to play for those clients that have it is business interruption insurance. Business interruption insurance is probably the class of insurance, certainly in the UK, that is more often than any other incorrectly arranged. It doesn't take account of how long it takes clients to replace items that are damaged. It doesn't take account of disruptions to a client's supply chain. And we have a role to play in understanding a client's business better to give them an insurance product that they need and can use. Because if we can't provide it, they will definitely get it from somebody else. And I suppose the message really feeds into the bottom. And this is interesting because our only security is our ability to change. You might think that is John Maynard Keynes, Donald Trump, John F. Kennedy, whoever you may think that is, it's actually John Lennon. And it actually sums up quite neatly that change for our clients and our ability to service them is important. So where are we in this as brokers, as a community here at Euribron? The reality is we've got to adapt and we have got to change with our clients. We've got to learn to ask them better questions to find out what's challenging and facing them, and we've got to devise the insurance program that will support them. Because in the future, it's all about these: speed, knowledgeable, problem solving. And I think the most pertinent piece of writing on this slide here is the third line up from the bottom. Can you, as a broker, deal with and manage the new version of your client? You may have had a client for 15 years, but I can tell you, probably pretty sure, in the next couple of years, that business is going to look quite different. You have to be able to give them the confidence that you can solve their problems, identify the risks that they're exposed to, and help them. And this is where this network is so important, because we can't do it all. I have the limitations of me in presenting this material to you. I don't know the conditions on the ground at the moment in Poland, in the US, in North Africa. But we've got people on this call who do. And this is the key thing. When we're dealing internationally, we've got to make the most use of the partners that we have got access to on this call, because that's how we deliver the right level of service to our clients. So I'd like to tell you otherwise, and it would almost be fascinating to run this in a year and to see what the risks are then and what actually happened, because it would be very different to this. The world is fragile at the moment. It's difficult. It's uncertain. How is this all going to pan out? Geopolitical risk is right at the top at the moment. And if any of you, I don't like to mention the nationals on a call like this, but if you go onto the internet and you find Aon and Marsh's risk survey reports, they run them every year, they will tell you what is worrying and is at the top of the minds of business leaders globally. And the things that I've talked about today, trade, supply chain disruption, massive cyber problems, they're right at the top. And if they're at the top, the solutions to those we have got to provide, because our clients are going to have to change, because otherwise they won't survive. And if they're changing in a world of increasing risk, we have to make sure we're there to provide the insurance that they need. Thank you very much for your attention. Much appreciated. I will now unshare so I can hopefully see some of you again. And over to Rutger if anything has indeed been put in the chat room. Thank you.
Thank you, Nick. No questions yet, but I'm sure there will be some questions. You can raise your hand or type it in the chat.
And
Maybe.
please also do challenge what I'm saying. I don't have one version of the truth. There is no version of the truth. It's an interpretation as an Englishman sitting here looking at the world. So I am very interested in anybody that has another view. It's very relevant.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, George.
Yeah. Can you maybe show the plot again? Because there was no, we didn't see you during the presentation. What you said, the plot,
I've lost you, Rutger, sorry.
the plot, what you said, like that records your meetings, what you were showing.
Oh,
We couldn't see it. We couldn't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's because I've got a background on. It's about the size of a credit card. It's about the thickness of a credit card. I'll just tap it in the chat there. This is a remarkable thing. I'd never even heard of it until this week.
Okay.
You can actually, you just attach it to the back of your iPhone and it records all your calls and transcribes them.
Oh.
It's incredible.
Oh, the question
George,
from George, is it legal?
Right. I can only tell you in the UK, right? Because I only know the UK. You can record a conversation with anyone, but if you intend to use it for any form of legal purposes, you have to tell the other party that you're recording it. So if Rutger is about to sack me, and I go into my meeting and he tells me, Nick, you've done a terrible job, I'm firing you, and I record that, I can't use it in a court because I didn't tell him I was going to record it. That's how the way it works in the UK. But what it's very useful for is if I have a conversation with a client, I then got a transcript and he says, I'm opening a new premises or I'm selling this or whatever. I've got it written down immediately off this. As I say, £150 sterling. I don't work for them, by the way, but I think this is extremely good.
Any other questions? I don't see any questions. Conrad. Nick, yes?
Can't hear you, comrade.
Conrad is writing, insurers are not following their clients that are surely moving internationally. Global insurer players that are active in the USA, total 7. Each specializes. Policy master insurer marketplace is very, very small.
I totally agree with that. And I'll tell you why. One of the problems we have in the insurance industry is insurers are inherently reactive. They tend to come up with things too late. And we've seen this time and time again. We've seen it with cyber cover. We've seen it with directors and officers cover years ago. We've seen it with all sorts of things that have come a little bit too late. And it is a frustration for me as well here that the number of true global carriers is very small. If I go and talk to, no offense to anyone here, if I go and talk to Zurich or Allianz or AXA, 3 massive global, supposedly, insurers, and I talk about true global programs, it doesn't really exist. Because when you get into the detail, they say, yeah, but there's too much in Belgium here and we don't really get Belgium. And I don't see this. I see this as a weakness in insurers. I agree with Conrad totally. It frustrates me. Any other questions? In which case, Rutger, I will hand back to you for your
thank
concluding
you.
remarks.
Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this webinar. If you're still interested in following the a demonstration on the oh, now we get a lot of messages. If you're interested in a demonstration of the members area and the forum, then please stay online, and I will give you a 10-15 minutes demonstration. Otherwise, thank you very much for joining the webinar, and hope to see you in Barcelona or maybe in Naples later this year.
Thank you all.
Thank you
Take care.
all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So let's see, let's go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen. Oh, let's see which one. Do you see my screen, the
Yes.
web page? Yes, you do?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going quickly through the members area so you can see and you know how to, where you can make your changes and where you can find a lot of information. On the website, on the right side, you see sign up and you see members area. Sign up is if you don't have your login details yet. It's very easy, first name, last name, and email address. If the email address is the business email address, so it's a business, your business email address, so it's already in our system, then it automatically accepts you as your as a new user, and you will receive your password. If you use a Gmail email address or Hotmail or something else, then it will not automatically accept you. In that case, please contact me, send me an email, and I can put you in the system. But I think in 99% of the cases, it will be your business email address, and it will automatically create your user profile. When you have the login details, you can go to members area and you get the questions for the username and the password, and you log in. After logging in, this is the screen that you get with your name and picture, and then the navigation. Important here, you see manage your company. This is only available for people who have the members administrator role. Normal standard is the members role, so you don't see the manage your company. If you don't see it and you would like to make changes in your company profile, then it's best to send me an email, and I can change your role. So to manage your company, there's always one person in the company that has the membership members administrator role, but I can add more if necessary. Going back, and you see here your name. This is where you can make your personal changes in your user profile. First name, this is in the system, but also you can write some information. What you can do is you can what you can do is write your function, languages, phone number, etc. Upload, Mariam? Mariam, your microphone is on. You can make your changes here. What is also interesting is the industries and specialties. These are your personal industries and specialties. If you are a specialist in aviation, you can tick the box. The advantage is that in the future, when other members look for people who are specialists in aviation, then everyone who has ticked this box will be on your screen. So it is important to fill in these industries and specialties so others can easily find you. Notifications are all on yes. And then it's important that your forum profile is there and it is registered. So this means that you will receive new posts and reactions on the forum page. So this is your user profile. If you go back, then you see here the dashboard, the network, gallery, resources, newsletters, and the forum. Going to the network, clicking on it, you see members and users. Members are the companies, users are the people. So in members, all the companies are here already in the system. But you can also look on a search for a specific company. For instance, I'm doing business with China. Who are our members in China? And you see these two companies. We have a new company in Malta, and here is the general information. Locations, industries, contacts, etc. It's all in here now. So this is the members. Users are the people. So here are the people, and in this search field, you can also say, there was someone I met at CPA. I don't know her name anymore. And then I see all the people who are in the system for the company CPA. The same is, I would like to have the contact details of Rutger. What is Rutger? And here you see Rutger and my contact details. I need to change the company. Okay, so that's the information on the users. It's really easy. If you click on users and you use the search field here, then you can find all users. The more information you have included in your personal profile, the better you can be found. Going back to the navigation, you see gallery and resources. Gallery is the pictures of the conferences. So if you are interested in other conferences and see what we have done there, then you can go to the gallery. Resources is the documents. And there are some folders already in the system. One of them is the AXCO reports. This is what I explained in the beginning of the webinar. If you click on this, you see already a lot of market profile reports that you can easily download. If your country is not the requested country where you're interested in, if it's not here in the list, you can ask me, send an email, and I will send it to you, and I will also upload it here in this folder. Conference documents are the documents, the presentations of the conference. For instance, if you look at the Naples, the registration form and the invitation that has been shared today, Barcelona meeting, but also other conferences, all presentations are in here and can be downloaded easily. So that's the conference documents. Then you see country news and member news. That's where when I receive some information, specific information about the country, a new regulation, or maybe about members, changes, some important news they would like to share, then I upload it here. Here you see the Euribron logo, Euribron presentation. Maybe you would like to include the Euribron logo in your presentations, or you would like to include it on your business cards or on the website. Here are the different logos, different types for the logo. And there is also the empty presentation if you are interested in giving a presentation in Euribron format. Talking about presentations, the next folder is Euribron presentation. And if you look there you see some presentations. A few, this one is the empty presentation, so this is only the format. The other presentations are standard presentations of what Euribron is. One of the slides in this presentation shows the difference between owned networks like Aon, Marsh, Willis, and on the other hand, independent networks like Euribron. Of course, it shows the advantages of Euribron as a network instead of the networks like Aon. If you are in competition with Aon, you might want to use this slide, or you want to take out some advantages to convince your client to bring the business to you and to the Euribron network instead of a company like Marsh and Aon. Membership services gives some information about Axco, about the IPT tool that I explained more in the beginning of the conference. So this is more the procedures. And then finally, webinars. Here you find the webinars, and here is already the presentation that was held today. And we will also upload links to the recordings as soon as we have them here. But also other webinars, the presentations are here and can be found and downloaded here in under the resources part. The newsletters, here you can download the newsletters. The recent newsletter has been sent today, so it can be found here or hopefully in your mailbox. And then finally, we have the forum. This is a new tool that we have included in the members area to make it easier for our members to ask their questions, to connect to each other, to discuss about specific topics. So far, it's not used very regularly, so that's why I also ask you to think about it, and I present it here, so you might want to use it in the future. The Euribron forum we have divided in 4 types of questions. The first one is the Euribron member community, where you can ask all your questions, communicate with all Euribron members about, for instance, new countries. You can give an update on a specific item, or when there is new regulation in your country. This is where you can inform the other members in the community. The second is questions to the board. If you ask a question here, it goes directly to the board. It will be discussed in the board meeting, and you will receive a response as soon as possible. Euribron events. New events will be posted here. So we will also post the annual conference here. very soon. And finally, there is the category no dump questions. You can ask any question you want. You can ask it anonymously. It doesn't matter what your question is, but we are here to help you. So please use this also because it hopefully it will help you in doing your international business and expanding your international business. So that's the forum. And that brings me to, well, to the end. As I told you, I have explained your profile, the navigation, the forum where you can find all the resources. So I hope it explained a bit about our nice members area. Do you have any questions? No questions?
No questions for me.
Okay.
It's clear.
No. Perfect. Well, Miriam, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rutter.
Thanks again for joining, and I hope to see you soon. Have a good day. Thank you
Have
very
a good
much.
day. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye all.